Hey everyone, Fire here. Today I'm going to be teaching you guys about a cool new raw currency Alch and Go farming strat that I've been doing for the last 2 days. So this farm pretty much consists of 4 main mechanics: Red Eldritch Altars, Legion, Expedition, and Harvest. Now the entire premise behind this strat is that the 3 Legion mechanics we've chosen all drop a large amount of raw currency. With Harvest you have the life force currencies. Now there's only 3 of them, so they're very, very easy and quick to liquidate. They're the only 3 loot types you get from that entire mechanic. With Expedition, you're getting reroll currencies, stacked decks, raw currencies, and then artifacts, which can be further converted later to even more raw currency. On top of that, you're also getting logbooks, which, again, can be converted to raw currency if you want. Legion drops a lot of raw currency, and yeah, so then you also are able to save enough points to get to the other side of the tree and take the Red Eldritch Altars, because they too give a lot of raw currency. Now, what really makes this strat so good, what takes it over the edge for me, is that when I say this is zero investment, like no maintenance whatsoever, I mean it. You can fully sustain the map we're going to run just by running this strat. You don't have to run the adjacent one to stock back up. So we're running Dry Sea here. We only run Dry Sea. We're not using chisels. We're not using vials. We're dropping all of our own Dry Seas, and we're dropping all of our own Alchs. You don't need to access any other tabs. Once set aside, say, 10 Dry Seas, and once you start doing this strat, you don't have to touch any of your other tabs ever again. You're not using any Kirak mods, you're not using any Scarabs, you're not using any Sextants, you're using absolutely nothing. You're just taking the maps you're dropping from this strat, you're taking the Alchs you're dropping from this strat, slapping it on the map, and then putting it in the map device, and you're going again. And because Dry Sea is the perfect combination of all the criteria I need, which we're going to get into later, we're also able to generate a whole bunch of Defiled Cathedrals, since that's the adjacent map that we're favoring, and you can bulk sell them for 6C at a time. This tree probably looks really unconventional to a lot of you guys, so I'm just going to jump right into explaining what we're doing here. So the 3 mechanics we want are all on this side of the tree, so obviously we just come straight out onto the right-hand side of the tree. We don't go up the middle like most trees do, and we don't take any of the stuff over here, but we do need to get the red stuff. I'll get to that later. Okay, so I believe base chance got buffed this league to 10%. Stream of Consciousness, as a result, I then believe gets buffed to 5%, and we're also blocking 10% over here. So your Legion, Expedition, and Harvest start off at 25% chance to occur, and then we buff it even further. So if you look up here, where is it? Expedition has plus 48% chance. I believe this comes out to 73%. So in other words, you get an Expedition roughly 3 out of every 4 maps. Next up is Harvest. Harvest gets plus 45, so that's 7 out of every 10 maps you get a Harvest. And then Legion is, where is Legion? Plus 56, so that's 81%, or 8 out of every 10 maps. Most maps, you just get all 3 mechanics, and because you're deeply investing into them all on the tree, they're pretty juiced out. You get pretty high value, kind of like stronger than in the past when we had Scarabs, but not as much juice on the tree. It's insane value you're getting almost every map just from having this stuff over here. But yeah, as I mentioned, you're probably wondering why some nodes are missing on some of this stuff, and that's because we just have to get over here for the red altars. Let's go through each one individually so you kind of understand why we're making certain choices. Now, the Expedition chance over here is a no-brainer. We have to take it. We're going to skip the Artifact Quant. Obviously, this does have value, but this tree is very tight on points, so we have to skip it. Now, we come up here for the Expedition stuff, and we're just going to go over here so that we get the notables, and we don't really care as much for the miners. Now, we can get some decent stuff on the miners, as you can see here, but we just have to skip it, unfortunately. We are going to be skipping this wheel over here. So for those of you who haven't noticed, most Expedition monsters spawn with some missing health, and this just increases the amount of missing health that they spawn with, but it's not that strong, to be honest. And if you can't do Expedition really well, you probably need to just invest in your character rather than investing in your tree to make it weaker, but it is an option if you really feel it's necessary. Now, these minor nodes make Expedition take longer, so I recommend just completely skipping them. They're pretty bad. Okay, up here, these new nodes are really cool. There is an argument to take Danig, but Danig is kind of expensive, and he has only 65% increased chance, whereas Tujin has 90, and Danig starts off with a lower baseline. So Danig is already rarer than Tujin, and he gets a lower increase here. So I don't really think the point investment for Danig is worth it, but definitely for Tujin it is. One of the best parts about this is that you actually get to do some Tujin gambling at the end of every mapping session from all the Tujin artifacts you accumulate by going for this. So definitely, we're definitely doing this, okay? And then over here for the remainder of Expedition, you're just going the long side of the wheel for the extra chance, and then you're taking this for the extra logbook stuff. So that's all pretty standard stuff. The only stuff you're really skipping are the minor stuff and then Ancient Decay, because Ancient Decay is terrible and a waste of your points. Okay, next up we'll do Legion. Okay, obviously down here you're taking all of the chance-related stuff. That is pretty self-explanatory. Now, down with this wheel, you want to path around to this notable through the back here rather than through this. Now, this increases the duration of your legions. You may need to take this if you're having trouble, but this is better. Now, concerning this, don't worry too much about full clearing the legions. You only have to get the rewards that are at the center and at the back of each army, basically. So once you pop a legion, go to the center of one end and then go for the center of the other end, and that's where the bulk of the rewards are. Pretty much everything in the middle is mostly irrelevant. It doesn't drop a lot of loot, so you can't ignore it. You don't need the full duration. You don't need to get the full pops if your build's not capable for it. So that's why we do that. Coming up here, I was very torn on this. Now, both sides of this wheel are good, and there's a very strong case to be made that you should be taking this over the extra 8% chance, but I have tried it this way, and I didn't like the fact that you do notice the fact that the Legion doesn't show up as often as it used to when you're running a larger sample size, and that kind of felt mentally bad, but I don't know which one's actually better. Now, the thing about Legion is that we care a lot about the incubators and the raw currency. I don't really care that much about the emblems, so emblematic is not that big a deal for me, but we are still going to take it because it is still some amount of money. And if you think I'm wrong about this extra chance and you want to go for this emblematic stuff over here, or maybe emblems go up after, like in the next few days for whatever reason, because more 5-way runners are online, maybe you want to switch to these nodes. I'm going to leave that up to you guys. Okay, over here, we're prioritizing Templar and Marikath armies because they just give by far the best, emblems, right? Their emblems are worth over 20C, and all the other emblems are worth under 5C, so kind of makes sense to spend the 4 points over here, and then you get the extra 10% chance for a Legion. And then up here, we get War Supplies, because War Supplies is pretty good, but I'm personally in favor of skipping Face-Off. So these 3 nodes here just increase the amount of generals you get, and I don't think generals are that good. They take a decent amount of time to kill if you're not playing a cracked build, and my build's worth a decent amount of money. I have a Mage Blood, I have a pretty decent bow, decent character. It's obviously not fully invested, it has a long way to go, but you can do all the pinnacle bosses and all the content in the game, so, it's still not exactly quick. Generals take a bit of time, especially Okuna. She can sometimes take upwards of 30 seconds, especially if the map mods are really bad. So I just like skipping this. I don't find, a lot of the time, the stacks that they drop don't even show up on my filter, so I think it's totally fine to skip this. If you really want to take it. And then over here, Pillage Treasures and Logistical Support. These are new nodes that were added, and they are absolutely crazy. They are the buff that Legion did not need, but it got anyway, and it's crazy. It's absolutely. This is why it doesn't really matter how bad emblems get. You can just keep running Legion because of all the other rewards that are going to get buffed and are going to be relevant probably till the end of the patch. As long as you're taking these nodes in conjunction with everything else here, you're good to run Legion. Finally, let's talk Harvest. Okay, so Harvest got some cool new toys that we're probably not going to really use. Now, we're going to take the chance over here. I think this is really the best part about what Harvest got. It's just really high chance to have it occur naturally. We're going to take all of the Harvest stuff over here. We're going to take the extra chance for Life Force duplication and the extra quant up here. Now, this is actually cool. This is a cool new toy that we did get, and it's great. So yeah, we're going to take that. Now, these toys are the ones that we're not taking, but I think they deserve a talk about. It's very likely later in the league, these are going to be relevant. We're going to be dropping other stuff to get these. So at the moment, Yellow Life Force is the is the highest valued Life Force. It's possible in the future that Blue is going to pull further ahead of ahead of Purple, at which point you would invest in just trying to cancel out the chance for Purple and then getting as many Blue and Yellow as possible. It's almost worth doing already, it's just not quite there yet. And what I don't want to do is have to invest 6 points to try and maximize the amount of Yellow that we get, since that's very expensive for a small benefit. But if Purple falls behind and we can only spend 3 points canceling out Purple and maximize the amount of Blue and Yellow we get, it's probably going to be very worth it. Harvest is really great. So, yep. Definitely pay attention to that. Pay attention to the economy, because in the future, if you're watching this video, you probably have to adjust that. Okay, and up here we get this. Now, I don't know if these are new minor nodes. I actually haven't checked. I don't recall them. They're probably old, but they're very important to take. And as I explained to people on stream, these nodes are pretty much one of the main reasons we don't take Grand Design. I mean, there are a lot of good reasons on these small nodes, particularly the buffed chance. Everything's giving 4%. Where is it? All these minor nodes give 4% now instead of 2 and 1%. So Grand Design I don't think is very worth it for these Alch and Go strats anymore, but yeah. Okay, these nodes are super important. You get lots of tier 3 points with these, and Heart of the Grove obviously is a really great node, possibly the best harvest node, so we have to take that. So what you're seeing here is the results of the 40 map test I did on stream yesterday, but when I did this test, I was doing it with blue altars and I had a suboptimal map combo. I was doing, I believe, Iceberg and Bog, right? Which totally suboptimal. There's no demand for either of those maps, and I believe they have a combined very low mob count. So I was kind of gimping myself really hard, but fortunately I did overperform. I dropped a Divine from my Tujin. I dropped many logbooks. So yeah, I guess it made up for it. I think this came out to roughly 70 C when you factored in absolutely everything, because there's about 400 C worth of logbooks here, and you can take out about 250 C worth of incubators, which I think is fair. The real value of these incubators is probably close to like 50 to 100 C if you run them yourself and get rid of the bad ones. So, you know, I don't want to tout the profitability of this. You can kind of make your own mind up about this, whether you think this sort of thing is fair. But yeah, as you can see, a hell of a lot of raw currency, and this is because the altars give a lot of raw currency. As I mentioned, the Legion gives plenty of raw currency, Expedition gives raw currency, and then Tujin gives raw currency. So you're absolutely stocked up by the time you're done with even 40 maps. I did a 20 map test of the red altar strat, the one that I showed you the actual tree of, and I low rolled really hard. I thought about it and I decided it would be a really good opportunity to show you guys what this looks like much more realistically. Not the best case scenario, but the worst case scenario. So I put together this tab from the 20 maps I did. I've filtered out all of the incubators and all of the low quality loot, so like your fragments, portal scrolls. I don't know why I picked up this amulet, the report, etc. So gotten rid of all that. This is just the remainder of the loot, and you can see it. There's a decent amount of raw loot here. Like if you filter chaos out, there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 66 raw chaos orbs in here from 20 maps. That's pretty damn good. There's also an Exalt in there, a bunch of sextants. As you can tell, a very healthy amount of raw currency. We also have something like, we have 46 stack decks. And also we have something like 16,000 life force. Now, if I bring up the Excellence tab, Excellence tells us around 1,223. It's not calculating the logbook, and it's not calculating the maps. So there's also some stuff in here it's undervaluing. So the Defiled Cathedrals I'm selling for 16 bulk, it's counting them at 4.8. There it is. Yeah, 4.8 C per. So this is kind of an undervaluation, but you'll still see it comes out pretty nicely. So we'll just punch this in. We'll add the 100 C on for the stuff that it's missing. We won't count the devalued Defiled Cathedral. We'll just divide by 20 here, and you still get 66 C per map. That's not counting the incubators and the low value stuff. That's not counting the missed out value of the Defiled Cathedrals. So realistically, this is probably well above 70 C, probably even higher. And this is a low roll. I got one logbook out of 20 maps. I got expeditions almost every map, and I still low rolled that hard. So realistically, you're probably going to get a lot more than this. This is, I would say, the worst case scenario. Is this the best Alch and Go of the patch? It's probably way too soon to tell. There are so many things I want to try out, and I've been through 4 passive trees already today. There'll probably be a 5th by the time I go to sleep, and there'll be more tomorrow. Once I have more information, I can put out more trees, and other content creators will be putting out more trees, but I think this is pretty damn dank for week 1 still. Being able to make 60 Chaos Orbs with literally no investment and maintenance is pretty crazy. I've been having a blast with this. I could be doing better strats, to be honest, but the last 2 days I've absolutely just been enjoying playing my character now that my defensive problems are fixed, and just grinding currency without having to use my brain for a change. It's really nice. You just put the next map in, you go, and by the end of the day, you're richer than you were when you started out. Obviously, you could be making more money than Alch and Go. I'm not going to sit here and tell anyone that this is the #1 strat in the game or anything like that. Far from it. But if you're the kind of person that you just want a day of chilled, laid back Alch and Go, you can swap to this strat, just do it for the day, and you'll make plenty of money. And then at the end of the day, you can just buy the Orbs of Unmaking and swap back, or whenever you're done, really. This strat is just, I find it really fun. I think it's really great to pretty much have guaranteed loot every map. And you do low roll some maps, don't get me wrong, but in general, you always have a good time doing this strat. I think even over smaller sample sizes of 20, 40 maps, it starts to average out pretty quickly to being a pretty effective strategy. If you like this video, please give me a like or subscribe. I would really appreciate it. If you didn't like this video, however, please give me a like and subscribe anyway, because my chocolate milk supply is running dangerously low, and I've been really counting on the YouTube bucks to get me by until the end of the year.